My name is Martha. I am 66 years old, and I live in a quiet village near Green Hill. My life is not rich or easy, but I have lived through many hard days. Many years ago, my husband died in a terrible accident. After that, I was left alone with my little son. He was very young, and from that moment, he became the center of my whole life. I had no time to cry for long. I had to be strong because my son needed food, clothes, and care. I worked wherever I could. Some days I cleaned people's houses. Other days I cooked for families in the village. In summer I sold fruit and vegetables in the market. In winter I sewed old clothes to earn a little money. My body was often tired, but my heart stayed strong because of my child. My son grew up as a kind and quiet boy. When he was small, he always followed me everywhere. If I went to the yard, he came after me. If I worked in the garden, he sat nearby and watched me. At night, when storms came and thunder shook the sky, he ran to my bed and held my hand. I always told him, "Do not be afraid. I am here." When he was sick, I did not sleep. I sat beside him with a wet cloth on his head and prayed for morning to come. When he had no shoes, I wore my old ones longer so I could save money for him. When there was only a little food, I always gave him the bigger piece and said I was not hungry. A mother learns how to hide her pain behind a gentle smile. Years passed, and my son became a man. He was tall, hardworking, and honest. I was proud of him. He started working on a farm not far from our village. Every evening I waited for him at home. I listened for the sound of his steps outside the door. When he came home safe, I thanked God quietly in my heart. One day, he told me he had met a young woman named Linda. She lived in another village, and he said he wanted to marry her. I looked into his eyes and saw hope there. So I smiled and said, "If she is good to you, then I will welcome her." I wanted my son to have a happy life, a better life than mine. At first, everything seemed peaceful. After the wedding, Linda came to live in our small house. I tried to be kind to her. I showed her where we kept the flour, where the water came from, how we stored apples for winter, and which part of the garden gave the best tomatoes. I spoke to her gently because I wanted her to feel like part of the family, but after some time, I felt that something was wrong. Linda was polite in front of my son, but cold when we were alone. She did not like when I spoke. She became angry if I touched anything in the kitchen. If I asked a simple question, she answered in a sharp voice. I did not understand why she disliked me so much, but I stayed quiet. I told myself, she is young. Maybe she needs time. So I tried even harder not to create problems. I moved slowly, spoke less, and kept to myself. I spent more time outside in the garden or in my room near the window. I did not want my son to feel stress between his wife and his old mother, but peace did not come. One evening, my son returned from work very tired. His clothes were dirty, and his face looked pale. He sat down and asked Linda for some water. She did not move. Then he asked if dinner was ready. She turned away and said nothing. A few minutes later, I heard her crying loudly in the next room. My son ran to her and asked what happened. Linda told him that I had been rude to her all day. She said I insulted her, watched her, and made her feel unwelcome in the house. None of it was true. I sat still and listened, my hands cold in my lap. I could not believe such lies came from her mouth so easily. My son looked confused. He loved us both, and I could see pain in his face. He spoke softly and asked her not to be angry. He said I was old and meant no harm. But Linda did not calm down. She cried more and said she could not live with me in the same house. Then she forced him to choose between his wife and his mother. Those words cut my heart deeply. That night I lay awake for hours. I looked at the ceiling and listened to the silence of the house. I knew something bad was coming. A mother can feel danger even when no one says it aloud. In the morning, Linda was still full of anger. She repeated her cruel words. Then, with a hard face and cold eyes, she said something terrible. She told my son to take me away to the forest or to the mountain road and leave me there. She said I was old, useless, and only a burden in their life. When I heard those words, I felt pain, but not anger. I looked at my son, and I saw that his soul was fighting inside him. He was weak for a moment. He was lost between love, duty, and fear of losing his wife. Later that evening, he came to me. His voice was low and heavy. He said, "Mother, tomorrow let us go for a walk up the mountain road. The air there is fresh, and it may be good for you." I looked at his face and understood everything. He could not even meet my eyes. I knew then what he planned to do. Still, I did not cry out. I did not shame him. I only nodded and answered softly, "Yes, my son, I will go with you." The next morning, the sky was gray and the wind was cold. We walked slowly up the stony road above the village. My son said almost nothing. His silence was louder than words. I walked beside him and remembered all the years behind us. I remembered carrying him in my arms when he was little. I remembered his first day at school, his fever in winter, the nights he cried, the mornings he laughed, and the way he once said, "Mother, when I grow up, I will always protect you." As we walked higher, I bent down from time to time and picked up small branches from the ground. Quietly, I dropped them behind us along the path. After some time, my son noticed it. He turned to me and asked, "Mother, why are you leaving branches on the road?" I smiled gently and said, "So that when you return home alone, you will not lose your way." My words hit his heart like lightning. He stopped walking. His face changed. His lips trembled, and his eyes filled with tears. For a moment, he looked like the little boy I once carried in my arms. Then he fell to his knees in the dust and began to cry. "Mother," he said, "forgive me. I was ready to do something terrible. I listened to cruel words. I forgot all the love you gave me. I forgot who stayed awake for me when I was sick, who fed me when she was hungry, who lived only for me. Please forgive me." I placed my tired hand on his head. My own eyes were full of tears too, but my voice was calm. "My son," I said, "a mother's heart forgives faster than a child's heart can ask." He cried even more after that. Then he stood up, held my arm carefully, and turned us back toward home. This time, he did not walk in front of me. He walked beside me slowly, like a son who had finally remembered his soul. When we came back, he spoke to Linda with a strong voice. He told her to leave our house. He said he would not betray his mother, the woman who gave him life, for anyone. Linda was shocked and angry, but he did not change his mind. She left that same day. Our home became quiet again. Not perfect, not rich, not new, but peaceful. Now my son cares for me with kindness. In the evenings, he sometimes sits beside me and brings me warm tea. We do not always speak much. We do not need to. Some love is too deep for many words. I am old now. My hair is white, and my steps are slow. But I have learned something important in this life. True motherly love does not end with age, pain, or betrayal. It stays alive through everything. A mother can suffer in silence, forgive in tears, and still love with all her heart.